Hello, I'm just going to start sharing my screen. So I am Becca Lear, and I am the campus recruiter here at OppFi. Just want to thank you so much for coming to our information session, and a huge shout out to Way Up for helping us make this event a reality. There we go. So today I have a really great team of presenters, and I'll allow them to introduce themselves shortly. Just want to give a quick agenda. I'll start by discussing OppFi at large, who we are and why people need access to our products. And then Sarah will be going in depth on our internship program. It is a 10-week internship program and it is paid. And then Kyle will discuss what social impact really means at OppFi and our social impact report. Feel free to check that out, by the way. That's on our website, and I think we're going to send it your way in the chat. Just a shameless plug, but it tells you a lot of information about OppFi and social impact here. And then lastly, you'll hear from Rania, one of our interns this past summer, on her experience during the 10-week internship program. And then I'll follow up at the end with our open intern roles and what the interview process really looks like. So I'll pause and let everyone introduce themselves.
Hi, I'm Sarah Cunningham. I use she, her pronouns. I've been at OppFi for about 4 years now. I manage our internship program as well as all of our new hire onboarding and training programs.
Hey, I'm Kyle Luckwity. I am on the social impact team. I use he, him pronouns, and I've been with the company about 3 years. So I'm excited to talk to y'all.
Hi, everyone. I'm Rania Zakaria. I use she, her pronouns, and I was the social impact intern this past summer, and I'm a senior at UPenn.
Thank you so much. So you'll hear from all of those folks. But I like to make this interactive, and we'll all kind of have slides where we want you to answer some questions. So if people could write in the chat, what do you know about the FinTech industry? It can be anything. It can be a company in our industry. It can be a fact about us, anything. And if you don't want to, that's okay too. In a nutshell, FinTech companies make financial services more accessible to the greater public. Oh, I see. Yes. Cryptocurrency is what I hear a lot. But this might include financial transactions like saving and investing, and then of course, loan processing. Another thing is FinTechs traditionally don't have like a location, like a bank. We're mostly online, which is another part of the fact that makes this very easily accessible. So who are we and why do people need access to our products? So I'm going to kind of start with our mission. At OppFi, we facilitate financial inclusion and credit access to the 60 million everyday consumers who lack access to traditional credit. So I'll get into our product offerings on a later slide, but we truly do focus on the consumer, putting them first and committing to a very strong customer service. And we all know that financials are very personal, and we really focus on delivering the most respectful, understanding customer experience. So to answer the question, why do people need access to our products? It's because 40% of Americans cannot afford a $400 emergency expense. So our loans are usually between $1,700 and $4,000. And many of them are used for medical emergencies or car emergencies, for example. And then, like I said in the earlier slide, 60 million Americans lack access to credit through traditional options like banks, and this can be largely due to their credit score. And then lastly, about 8 out of 10 Americans do live paycheck to paycheck. So as we let that sink in, I'm going to move to the next slide, which is about who we are. So OppFi was founded in 2012. And we have over 550 employees. We are headquartered in Chicago, but we are hiring all over the country. And I know a few of you had asked this initially too, if we're hiring for remote. We have a workforce called Thrive Where You Work Where You Thrive. And that is something that Sarah will get into more in depth in later slides. But by partnering with FDIC regulated banks, we have serviced over 1.8 million loans. And we have an A+ rating with the Better Business Bureau. And then lastly, one of my favorite things is that we do offer what we call Opp University to our consumers. We do use a lot of op puns if you haven't already noticed, but you'll continue to notice. And this financial education team for Op University really builds out resources for our consumers to create more opportunities for financial health. So to get into a little bit of company history, we just went through something very exciting, which a few of you might know, and that is that we went public this past summer. And as we went public, we also changed our name to Opportunity Financial, OpFi. Our name was previously Op Loans, but don't worry, we have kept that name in-house, which I'll explain on my next slide. So another exciting thing that happened at OpFi this year is that we actually came out with 2 new products. So we find that we're more of a holistic FinTech platform and not just a consumer lender. As I said on the earlier slide, we kept the name Op Loans, and that is now what we call our installment loans product. And that is really the one that we have been built upon and only continues to grow. And then we also have Salary Tap, which is where we work with companies and organizations and offer our loans to their employees as a benefit. So those employees receive lower interest rates for a more guaranteed payback. And then lastly, we launched our graduation product, which is our OpFi credit card. And then lastly, this is my favorite thing to talk about, and it will most likely be brought up if you are going to go through our interview process. Hint, hint. But I have truly never worked at a company where we talk about our values so much and utilize them when giving and receiving feedback. So diving into them, dare to win. It's really about taking calculated risks. Don't just do what has always been done. Holding the door for others, our diversity and inclusion value. It's all about really helping others to be successful. And then say what you see. The best idea can come from anywhere and anyone, even and especially an intern. And everyone should really feel empowered to speak up when they see areas for improvement. And then lastly, do what you say. It's all about accountability and being true to your word. So I am going to hand it off to Sarah now, who's our onboarding lead, and she'll talk more in depth about our summer internship program.
Thanks, Becca. So to reintroduce myself, I'm Sarah, and as I mentioned, I've been at OpFi for about 4 years now. Even though I've held multiple roles within the organization, the internship program is something I've always had a hand in and have really been building up over the course of these past few years. So I'm really excited about how far it's come and the positive impact it's been able to make on so many students' lives and careers. So we're going to dive a little bit more into the particulars. But before we do that, something that I'd first like to hear from all of you in the chat are, Becca, if you could move along to the next slide. When you think about your dream internship, what are the characteristics of that internship program? Because as I'm talking through OpFi's internships, I'd love to hear about what you have in mind, ideal attributes. Maybe it's attributes of the company, things you'd gain from the internship. Team learning, paid. OpFi's internship is paid, so no worries there, James. Company culture, hands-on experience, seeing a lot of things about learning, mentorship, and training. Okay, cool. Yeah, I think I'll be able to touch on a lot of these things as I'm speaking through the different attributes of OpFi's internship program. And then if there's anything I don't touch on that you're still wondering about, feel free to drop it in the questions afterwards. Learning different skills, networking opportunities. Love it. Okay, so let's talk a little bit more about internships at OpFi. So as Becca mentioned, it is a paid 10-week internship program. Typically, our intern class sizes range from 17 to 20 summer interns. Then Becca, if you could move along. So among that class of 17 to 20, interns will be spread across a variety of different departments. Within each department, there will typically be a different number of interns. So for instance, we only had 1 digital marketing intern, 1 accounting intern, but there are a few departments that have more interns in them. For instance, technology will typically have 5 or 6 interns. But regardless of whether you're one of many interns in your department or the only one, we offer programming to make sure that you feel like a part of a cohesive intern class and get to know your fellow interns, as well as get to know the full-time team members within your department and other departments as well. So a question we'll often get from prospective interns is, how will I spend my workday? Because you're trying to picture your life at OpFi and what your day-to-day as an intern will look like. approximately 90% of your work will be within your department, which will really give you that on-the-job experience, that real-world experience that some of you mentioned wanting in the chat. So if you're a strategy and operations intern, your day-to-day work will largely be dedicated to the world of strategy and operations, and you'll operate very much as a full-time team member. With OppFi growing so fast, it's a great opportunity for our interns to do real life work because we need the extra headcount. Interns are brought on because we have projects that we need them to do, and they really make a contribution. Now, what this contribution looks like varies from department to department. So we have some departments where you'll very much have one overarching project that will take up most of your 10 weeks. Within other departments, I think specifically of technology and accounting, you'll be more enmeshed in the day-to-day life of the department. So doing smaller projects throughout the days, weeks, and months as opposed to one bigger project. And then with the other 10% of your time, you will be participating in intern-specific programming, as well as cultural, DEI, social programming that OppFi puts on for all of our employees. And then you'll see on this slide all of the different schools that our interns have come from. And what I want to impress upon you is what excites me and what excites Becca when we see this slide is not the presence of any one school or any couple specific schools. It's the wide variety of schools that we've been able to draw from, especially in the remote flexible world. Initially, OppFi's internship program in its early years just drew from a few local schools, but we've really expanded our footprint, and we appreciate the diversity of thought that this brings. We also recognize that diversity of thought is certainly not the only facet of diversity. We value racial and ethnic diversity and view those as essential components of our internship program, and those are definitely priorities in our recruiting process. So no matter what school you're coming from, I saw a lot of schools listed in the chat. We'd like to add your school to the list. And when we're presenting next year, we want to have your school logo up on this slide, which of course leads to the question that we always get, is this program remote? The answer to that, Becca already touched a little bit on this thrive where you work where you thrive philosophy. That's our tagline for remote flexible work. What it means is we understand that for some people, they do their best work from the comfort of their home office. Other people like having that separate office setting to go to where they see other people have a designated desk and are in an office space. And for a lot of people, it's some combination of the two. So we allow a high degree of flexibility among our full-time population. We give them a lot of choice regarding how often they'll come into the office, if ever. And we're going to extend the same degree of choice to our intern population. So if you're an intern and you want to work remotely, we'll work with you on that. Same if you want to work in office or any combination of the two. Another thing that we are very excited about is the fact that we're able to pay for our remote employees to travel to Chicago for one work week. And we were able to include our interns in this as well last summer. So we actually, fortunately, were able to have an in-person summer gathering for those who were comfortable. We were able to fly in or bring in many of our non-local interns to attend our summer party and attend our intern dinner. Of course, we never know where things will be with COVID in the future, but public health climate permitting, we'd like to be able to do the same next year for our non-local interns. I also get a lot of questions about the training and onboarding process, which is very much my wheelhouse since I run all of our new hire training programs as well as our internship program. So before day one, you'll work with your recruiter and your manager to select your start date. We hold orientation on a bi-weekly basis, and typically there are 2 or 3 orientation dates that really align with academic calendars. We understand everyone's calendar is a little different. Some are on the semester system, some are on the quarter system. So we'll work with you to find a start date that aligns with your academic needs. You'll probably have several other interns starting on the same start date. We'll be in touch to welcome you. You'll get all of your paperwork out of the way so that on day one, you can focus on meeting people and starting the learning process rather than spending your whole first day filling out papers. And we'll send you some OppFi swag so you can feel like a team member. And then on day one is when the work and the learning start. We'll ship you a company laptop shortly in advance of day one. Morning of day one, you'll set up your laptop, and then in the afternoon, you'll attend our new hire orientation, which is focused on learning things like our mission, core values, company history, and various tech platforms that you'll be using. And then, as I mentioned, the work of an intern looks very different from department to department. So after day one, the people team passes the torch over to the teams and the managers in terms of training. So your manager will teach you about the specific departmental processes, software, and applications that you'll be using. You'll start getting to know your team members and learn about the projects that you'll be working on. By about week 3, you'll be able to work pretty independently in your role. And when I say independently, work at OppFi is very collaborative. So you'll definitely be working with others. But by week 3, you probably won't need quite as much help or hand-holding. You'll know your role and you'll know what you're doing. And of course, you'll still have the support of your manager, your buddy, your team, and your fellow interns if you need help or have questions. And then beyond the work that you'll be doing in your department, we have several programs that are designed just for interns, because we know that you're at a key point in your career and we want to make sure that we foster your growth and learning. So we have the Buddy program. I know some of you mentioned wanting opportunities for mentorship and networking, cross-departmental connections. We pair each intern with an employee outside of their department. Typically, these employees are people who are active contributors to OppFi culture, have been with the company for at least a year, and are excelling in their roles and really know their way around. So your buddy will be someone you'll meet with every week. They'll serve as a guide, go-to, and mentor outside of your immediate team if you have questions or need advice or need help networking within the company. The Intern Project is a chance to work collaboratively with interns in other departments. So we'll assign the groups a company level challenge. Typically, it's a challenge related to maybe a department that doesn't have an intern, or just a higher level company-wide challenge. So with your group, you'll research the challenge, which you'll do both using resources on the internet, and we give you a list of OppFi employees who are familiar with the problem or challenge who you can set up meetings with. Then after you do your research, you'll craft a solution, make a presentation, and we'll typically make the presentations into a bit of an event. So you'll invite your manager, your team, we'll typically have some leadership there, and you'll have the chance to present your research and your solution. Career conversations are another networking event. So we'll bring in a guest every week who has an interesting role in the company, typically someone who's at a leadership level, has an interesting career journey, either within OppFi or has had an interesting career trajectory that led them to OppFi. We'll bring them in for some dialogue and some Q&A with the help that you can learn from their career paths as you're building their own. Intern Forum is our weekly all-intern meeting. Typically, the agenda shifts as the program progresses. The first few intern forums will be focused on icebreakers and getting to know you activities so you can create that sense of intern class identity. And then after that, we'll segue more into professional development topics. So things like personal branding, networking, and financial literacy. And last on this slide, we want to make sure you have opportunities to just casually, socially interact with other interns, which we'll do through things like Zoom escape rooms or virtual group lunches so that you can interact and just get to know each other in a casual setting. We also get lots of questions about full-time offers. The answer is yes, we aim to extend full-time offers to our interns who are performing at a high level and achieving their goals. So we want to make that transparent throughout the process as well. At any point during your 10-week internship, your manager will be giving you feedback about how you're doing on achieving those goals. So you should be pretty clear on where you stand and if you're on track to get an offer, as well as what you need to do to be on track. And then historically, about 75% of OppFi interns have received full-time offers for after graduation. Lastly, on this slide, I've included a few intern testimonials. We're very proud of our wonderful network of internship program alumni. They've gone on to do great things. Many of them have rejoined us at OpFi. So these are a few testimonials, and I'm also really excited for you to hear from Rania later on in this presentation, so she can speak firsthand to that experience as well. And with that, I'm going to pass it off to Kyle, who will be talking more about his work in social impact.
Thanks, Sarah. So before I begin, I'd love to hear, what do you think of when I say social impact? And if you could just put that in the chat, I'd love to hear what you think. Having a positive impact on society, change, ethical practices, how you help the world around you, community, sustainability, empowering communities. So these are all great answers. But as you can see on the next slide, at OpFi, we distinguish between corporate social responsibility and social impact. And they're both very important, but corporate social responsibility are employer-run initiatives that benefit the employee or the communities around them. So it can be things like environmental sustainability in the offices, or volunteering at local charities, where social impact is embedded in the product or service. And it is the impact that you have on the consumer of that product and service. So social impact differs between industries. A car manufacturer, their social impact would heavily involve how they mine for their materials. Whereas in the case of OpFi and FinTechs, it's really about financial inclusion, credit access, and consumer financial wellness. So while social impact is a department at OpFi, we really embed social impact strategies across the different departments, and it's a very cross-departmental department. So our social impact strategy has three main pillars. The first is providing access to the best available credit by working with our bank partners to expand credit access to the millions of everyday consumers that are left out by traditional financial products. Our second strategy pillar is to build and promote financial health. And this is whether internally through offerings such as OpU and policies and procedures that we have, as well as externally through partnerships. And two partnerships that I've worked on are with a FinTech called Steady, which helps consumers boost their incomes by connecting them to local gig economy work, and Spring4, which enables us to provide our borrowers with access to local resources in their areas if they have hardship. For example, if they have a lot of medical bills, we can connect them to local nonprofits that can help them out. And then lastly, we aim to deliver exceptional customer service. So finances can be a very emotional process, and we have our customer advocates and service reps treat our customers with the utmost respect and empathy. So very exciting, last month, we released our inaugural social impact report as part of our ongoing effort to measure the impact that we're having on our consumers through our products and services. We are a very data-driven organization, and we believe in sharing measurable outcomes to hold ourselves accountable and report on the impact that we're having to our consumers. So I'm gonna share only a few of these key highlights, but I would definitely encourage you to read the report, especially if you wanna join our team as an intern or full-time hire. So in terms of providing access to the best available credit, I wanna highlight our TurnUp program. As part of our application process, we actively check whether a customer could get a lower rate from another lender, and we send them to that lender. We want our customers to get the best possible interest rates, even if they're not with us. And through that TurnUp program, less than 2% of customers who opted into being potentially turned up received and closed a loan with a partner. So we are helping customers who have who are traditionally shut out from the financial services and products. Secondly, in terms of building and promoting financial health, we did an internal study last year on applicants in 2019. And of those who paid off a loan in full, their credit score, or their Vantage score, which is a type of credit score that's uniform across all three of the credit bureaus, went up on an average of 32 points in the period of, I think, 18 months. So our customers who are paying off are improving their credit score. And then lastly, in terms of delivering exceptional customer service, our CEO likes to say our reviews speak for themselves. We have an 85 Net Promoter Score, which is a measure of whether customers would recommend us to their friends and family. I think the benchmark for the financial services industry is like 32. So we have a very high NPS for our peer group. And we also have high ratings with review sites as well as the Better Business Bureau. And with that, I will turn it over to Rania, who was our social impact intern this summer. Thanks.
Hi, everyone. Thank you for your interest in the OppFi internship program. I wanted to share a few highlights from my summer. You can see some pictures here of my visit to Chicago, which feels like it was just yesterday, but it was a little over a month ago. Here we have a picture with some of the other interns at our company party where we are celebrating going public. And you can also see a picture of the OppFi office and a picture of myself and one of the UX interns, Janelle, on the rooftop deck, which is on the 11th floor of the office building. So I was really grateful to have the opportunity to check out the office in person, even though I was working remotely from Indianapolis. Some other highlights of my internship would be my core deliverable, which was a materiality assessment. I felt like it really had a tangible impact on the company. I wasn't just given like busy work, and I really grew and developed my skills in the process of completing that project. And I got to present my project to the senior leadership team and the CEO at the end of my internship, which was really exciting and empowering. Some other highlights would be the inclusive and supportive culture. I received a ton of support from everyone, but especially my manager, Kyle. Of course, the visit to Chicago was a highlight, made some new friends with folks in my intern class. And I would say the buddy program would also be a major highlight. I got along really well with my buddy, Rivka, and she just taught me a lot, and she just made it clear that she was always there for me, if I needed anything throughout the course of the internship. All of the programming that Sarah mentioned was also fantastic, like career conversations and intern lunches. So I hope that many of you will apply so you can experience it for yourself, because I truly grew a lot from the experience, and I just have so many good things to say. But I will put my LinkedIn in the chat if anyone wants to connect and, chat more about my experience. But I think we're gonna have more time for questions at the end.
Thank you so much. I know I miss you already. Just come back, we do offer full-time roles. But I have been getting a lot of questions about this, previous to this actual presentation, and also I see in the chat. So our intern opportunities for the summer of 2022 are showing up. I'm going to make it go a little bit faster so you have more time. But we have all of these opportunities. The UX design internship, just one note, that is coming out just in a few months. It will still be open for the summer. We are just putting it live a little bit later. So if you don't see that on our job board, feel free to reach out to me, send me your resume if you're interested in it, and we will keep it on hold. But we have a lot of awesome opportunities for the summer of 2022. One question I did get often is, do you have internships at other times? Unfortunately, right now, we don't have internships in the fall or spring. It's very specific to the summer. So just one thing to note, we hope to do that in the future. But these are the roles and what we look for in majors and minors. It is relatively open, you know, as long as you have those skills and especially transferable skills. That's something that's very important to us. Of course, for the more technical ones, we are looking for people from maybe STEM specific majors. And then of course, we're in the FinTech space. So we see a lot of business majors, whether that's finance, accounting, entrepreneurship, economics, stuff like that. We see a lot of folks coming in with those majors or minors. So I know I had seen that question, but I do want to touch base on the interview process as well. Give you all a little heads up. When you apply for our roles, which you can do at the link that was dropped in the chat, our roles are all up on WayUp's website. It's all on Handshake. We're on LinkedIn. We're at a lot of places, so hopefully you can find it. But if you can't, always reach out to me, and I am happy to steer you in the right direction. And the first step of the interview process is going to be a call with a recruiter, going over your background, your skills, you know, what made you interested in OppFi, and some more behavioral questions that are specific to the internship. And then the next step, we'll be talking to the hiring manager in a 30-minute phone interview, getting a little bit more into the weeds of what is required for that specific position. And then the last step is to do a virtual on-site interview. So to meet folks via Zoom on the team. For any roles, again, that are more technical, so of course, software engineering, data analytics, credit risk, those do come with an assessment at some point within that virtual onsite or right before that. So I know I just threw a lot of information at everyone. I see some questions coming through the Q&A, which I'm going to try to answer as quickly as I can. But if anyone wants to get on live video, I'll stop sharing and we can answer any questions live, and then I'll choose some questions from the chat to answer live as well.
Hello, thank you so much for the presentation. It's very cool stuff you guys are presenting. My question is, are you particularly seeking like freshmen or sophomores, or do you take graduate students, even like graduated students?
That is a great question. I apologize for not answering that earlier. So right now we are specifically looking for folks in their junior year, so who can intern with us over the summer. And then our goal is always to extend that full-time offer to come join us either that following December or the following summer when they graduate. But for some of the roles, we are extending it to grad students. So grad students in their first year, same idea. They intern over the summer and then hopefully join us post-graduation.
Awesome. Thank you for that.
Of course.
My question is for the grad student section. Would there be a link posted for that?
That is actually, if you just look at our intern page, there's a few roles that say, there's one like MBA intern role. I think there's another one actually opening up for MBA data analytics relatively soon, heads up. But it's all the same information within all of our intern roles.
So I am a sophomore and I want to know if there is any internship opportunity particularly suited for sophomores.
So as of right now, no. Good question though, because we actually have a great example of someone who reached out to us and talked to us as a sophomore. She was an engineering intern. Now this past summer, she reached out to us as a sophomore, kept in contact with us, got the internship after her junior year summer, and then got an offer to join us full-time after that. So if you keep in touch with us, we've seen proof that we'll, work or we'll touch base with you again when it's time for you to intern with us.
Sweet. Yeah, thank you so much for presenting. It seems super interesting. I was just looking at the roles and are we limited to applying to just one? Do we have to choose, or can we apply to a couple of different roles?
No, that's a great question. Actually, I saw that in the chat too, wanted to address it. You are not limited to applying to only one position. You can apply to however many you are interested in. It does so happen that a decent amount of them are relatively similar in the skill set that you need. So on my end too, just as you all know, I'll kind of be looking at resumes and seeing you'd be a good fit for this role and potentially this one. So you can apply to all that you're interested in. And I also have that in mind as a recruiter.
Hi, my name is Elena. I am coming from Brooklyn College. I'm a senior, and my question was, are there specific characteristics that you see in your interns that stand out to you? And if so, how do you stand out within the internships?
Yes. So I'm probably not the only person that can talk to this, but the biggest thing for us is like wanting to grow, wanting to learn, being proactive. You know, we are at a place where we are high growth. We weren't a startup that long ago. Like, it's relatively recent. So there's a lot of opportunity within where if, you know, you're proactive, if you're taking initiative, that is seen as a really positive thing for us. So if, you know, on your resume and in your phone interviews, you're kind of talking about examples of where you've taken initiative or where you've, what's the value I'm thinking of? Do what you say, go, I mean, all of them really, but anything that like exhibits our values and you're kind of going above and beyond, that's really the most important thing to us. Skills themselves are of course important, but something that we can teach you versus having that like innate want to learn.
Great, thank you. And just sorry, I didn't fully understand. So if you are a senior, you can apply for the internship position?
So not as a senior, unfortunately. It's only specifically for juniors. I did see this question a lot too, though. If you are a new grad looking for like full-time roles post-graduation, what we tend to do is post roles and hope to hire someone about 6 to 8 weeks after posting it and have them start about 2 to 4 weeks after. Hopefully you can still hear this. I don't see on the screen anymore, but so if you are looking for new grad roles, I would start looking around March or April, applying then, and then starting full-time after graduation.
Oh, I was just going to say, when I'm interviewing as like a hiring manager, one thing that I love to see is when people have done their homework. And I'm not saying like you have to read through the entire social impact report by any stretch of the imagination, but you know, we list our cultural values, and if you ask me a question about like what hold the door means or something, it just shows to me you've done your homework and you really are interested in joining our company and our core values. So and this doesn't go for just us. I think every company that you'll interview with really appreciates if you do your homework.
Hello, nice to meet you guys. Becca, you just actually answered my question since I am a senior software engineer in college. But so just like to follow up on that. So would those types of like entry-level positions, new grad positions, be posted in spring then?
Yes, those roles would be posted in the spring, but I think a good idea if you are interested in those is just to reach out to one of our tech recruiters on LinkedIn, connect with them. I can put their links in here afterwards, or I'll show you, but I would just connect with them on LinkedIn and say, you know, I'm graduating this date. I'm interested in a full-time position if we can touch base around that time.
Okay, I did have one other question since, like, at least at my school, most of like the full-time like recruiters are coming to our campus right now for like the seniors. So like a lot of the times they'll like be extending offers in the fall. So like if we were like really interested, because I'm pretty interested in working for OppFi since I like your company and I'm from the Chicago area. Like could I like reach out to them and see like if they'd be willing to like stay in touch or maybe extend an interview like earlier? I don't know, like obviously if there's like, you know, plans in place for only like recruiting in spring.
Yeah, that's a fair question. I do totally understand because people do a lot of new grad hiring in the fall pretty early on. So first step, get in touch, let them know that you're interested, or get in touch with me and I'll send it their way. I don't want to say never by any means with hiring this early on. I know that we haven't done it in the past, but getting in touch is the first step, and then maybe going through the interview process earlier in the year for the spring.
Hello. So my question was, I'm a junior and I'm really looking for like my first like bit of experience at a workplace. And I was wondering if you guys look for interns who have had past internships and past work experience, because I'm really just looking for that first like big breakthrough because it's been really tough with the pandemic and everything to get a good in-person internship.
Yes, I'm so glad you asked this question. So I went to camp for like 13 summers, including summers within college, and then tried to look for an internship. And I know a lot of people will look for internships previously. Although it's a pro if you have that experience, we're focused on transferable skills and the work that you do within school. I would say, with your skill set on your resume, maybe show some projects that you've done either on your own or a project that you did within a class, but like in a consulting manner, with a company. So you can show some like working with real world data experience. That might not be specific to what you're applying for, but you know what I mean? But I would try to show that more so on your resume. And then again, just really focusing on transferable skills into this role. Even a good interview question when you're talking to a recruiter or hiring manager is like, what are some of like the soft skills that you need for this role, and what can be transferable from my resume into this position?
All righty, well, that's it for our live questions. So if you wanted to transition over to the Q&A box, I know we have a lot of questions in there.
Yes, okay, I am looking right now. Kyle, Rania, or Sarah, if you see any of them that catch your eye that you want to answer, feel free to do that as well. I do see one that I can answer. As of right now, we are not offering an HR management internship. That is a role that potentially might be in the next few years, but as of right now, there is no internship on the HR side. For competitiveness within the internship, it kind of depends on the role. What we're doing this year is that all of these positions are posted live, and you specifically apply to the one that you're interested in. So as you can imagine, we do get a lot of applicants to like a software engineering internship. So that is a little bit more challenging than maybe some of the other roles that are a little bit more niche. So just depends on the role, on the competitiveness, but I would say anything that you can do to kind of stand out from the crowd, reach out to us on LinkedIn, connect, follow up, exactly what Kyle said. If you know a little bit more about our values and can dive a little bit deeper, if we went public and how, that's a great thing for us to know, and that's really helpful.
And I see that Haley asked any other tips. So one thing that I found helpful, I actually did this when I interviewed at OppFi 3 years ago, is prepare the stories that you want to tell with a framework. So I think it's helpful to use like situation, action, response, and what you learned. And there's a lot of different very similar frameworks, but basically explain as succinctly as you can, like what the situation, what actions you took to address the situation, the result, and what you learned after the fact. And this can go for anything from, tell us about a time where you took initiative to discussing a project you did for a specific project. So it's just very helpful. It helps you organize your thoughts, because I personally struggle from trying to be as concise as possible. So having that framework makes it easier to answer briefly.
I can add on to that. Having interviewed for interns before Becca joined us as campus recruiter, I think back to interviews where interns spoke about how OppFi's mission resonated with them. We are a very mission-driven company, so it's really great to talk to people who are jazzed about the mission and can talk about the ways in which they connect with it. So for example, we had one intern who was majoring in econ and sociology, and he talked about how the position itself related to his econ major, but the fact that we're mission driven and what we're out to do connects to his sociology major. Now, even if it's not a second major that's relevant to our mission, I would recommend you look over our mission statement and think about how you relate to it or how it connects to you or why you're excited about it.
I answered a decent amount of questions on chat, and some of the other ones we answered live.
Oh, I forgot to show off my OpFi swag, my bento box. I also have a lot of other things, but this was one of my favorite swag items from the internship because I use it every day.
Work it out, Fi. We have good swag.
We do. We really, I have so much swag and more than I've ever gotten from another company, but in the midst of like changing our name from Op Loans to OpFi, we got the new swag for our new name. So that has been really cool. The mugs are also great.
I'm also just going to plug the culture. I joined when we were still in person. Now we're hybrid, and they plan a lot of great events. Sarah, I know, did a lot of the initial ones when I first joined, just to get us all to know each other. And even in a hybrid remote environment, there's all these initiatives and ways that help us connect with people, which is important because we've grown astronomically since I've been here the past 3 years. And I don't know the statistics, but there's so many people that have joined since we've been remote over the past 18 months. And just making sure that these people feel welcome and get to know everyone has been a great thing that our people team has done.
Yeah, I think to talk through that too, I joined when we were already remote and was nervous about meeting new people and getting to know the company as a remote employee, which I'm sure most of you coming into the workforce, this is the only thing is working remotely. And there have been a lot of things that have made me very comfortable here and have made it so that I become very knowledgeable, especially as the new products came out and as we went public. They did communicate with us a lot about that and how it's working. So that was a huge plus. And then there's a lot of really cool benefits too. This is more for full-time, but again, the whole goal of the internship is to make sure that we can hire people full-time after. But there's a lot of benefits within Thrive Where You Work Where You Thrive, remote flexible workforce, including, DoorDash credits. We have a thing called fringe benefits where you can use points on a bunch of different things like massages nearby, getting bouquets of flowers sent to you, and Uber Eats, more DoorDash if you want that, stuff like that. And then also, a work from home stipend too, so you can create a really comfortable workspace. That is something that's very important, especially when you are someone who does like to work from home.
So we actually have another live question if we're willing to circle back to that. All right, so Tristan, hang tight. We're going to get your camera turned on.
Yeah, I was just wondering, so are your opportunities more for just people that are, starting out as, new career people, or are they also open to people that have, already had a career in the past, but are changing directions and so they're in school again?
Very open to that. Yeah, very open to changing directions. I actually just saw a post too about someone in software engineering potentially pivoting or in the chat. But if you are going back to school, pivoting into a new major or a new career, we are happy to, bring you through that interview process and extend as long as it lines up with the timeline of what we're looking at. So like a junior in your undergrad or like first year master's students. So again, we can hopefully extend a full-time offer for like the following year. I did see a question in the chat also that said that they're pivoting from software engineering to data analytics after working in several projects and realizing that data analytics is something that they're more passionate about. I've actually gotten this question before as well. And as long as you have, that skill set and that passion to dive more into data analytics, we are absolutely willing to, look at your resume, push forward as long as you have the skill set that we're looking for again, and the wanting to be in this field. I know you said aiming to get an Oracle data analytics certification. I think that would be a great add-on, but as long as you can get some projects working within, data analytics or data science currently, I think that would also go really far. Great. Well, I just want to say thank you to everyone This has been great. I appreciate all of the questions. I couldn't even keep up with all of them. So any follow-up ones, I'll email. And again, feel free to add me on LinkedIn and add anyone here on LinkedIn. They're more than willing to connect. And thank you again to the presenters for being here.